What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2018 Innovation Award winner, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show for dads, fathers, and male caregivers. It's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. Excuse me, that was good water. And being part of that team, reached out directly and indirectly to over 400,000 dads, fathers, and male caregivers around the world. And as always, like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. And I was just saying, before we bring up Aisha and LaLa, we didn't broadcast last week, and it just seems forever, and I miss them. What the heck is going on? I miss them. I just feel like it's like seems forever with so much going on, and I don't hear their takes. I did speak to LaLa during the week, and I showed her something, and she went, "OMG!" Yes, I hope you use it. So, without further ado, we have Aisha K. Staggers, Laura LaLa Key. What is going on, ladies? What is up? What is up? What is up?
Before you get into anything, you know the outro you're going to play at the end, I do have something to say. I'm not a fan of the Easter Bunny because it is a rodent. Rabbits are rodents. So I'm not a big fan of bunnies either. Yeah. So Easter was never one of those things where, you know, those holidays kids look forward to, oh, the Easter Bunny. Nope. Rodent.
Here I'm going. Aisha's gonna go on me and go after me and going. I get that. Say,
rodent.
All right. Well, you know what? I have to say, I was listening to the intro, and I love this intro that we played today because I always feel like I'm saluting General Staggers and General Key. I feel like I'm marching in order to General Staggers and General Key.
I love it. I love it.
What's going on, ladies? It's been a minute.
Well,
yeah, it has. It has. But, you know, we also had some really great girlfriend chats. So,
I think LaLa and you and I spoke during the week. I have a suggestion on those.
Yes, I know.
That suggestion. And I actually should. Okay, well, we'll wait till after the break. There's something brand new about today's conversation, but I'll hold it off till after the break. But, the girlfriends chat has to get more exposure, and I
haven't had a chance to pull up because I was traveling when they did it and they sent it to me. So I'm gonna actually, before I get back on the road and stuff tomorrow, I'm gonna actually put it up.
Okay, I have some thoughts and suggestions on that. I need to get my hands on a hold of some of those episodes, and I've got a place where I think it could have a home.
We like that.
Yeah. I'm glad we like that. What's been going on? It's been like 2 weeks. It feels like forever since I chatted with you, y'all, as they say down in Texas, y'all.
What's down here in the South?
Yeah. What's the temperature?
Visiting. It is 89 today in South Carolina, where I'm visiting.
Wow, crazy. That is crazy. How's things down in South Carolina, home of the Gamecocks?
Yeah, I'm ready to come home.
Okay. I've had the blessing this morning. I've been up since 6 o'clock this morning, and I did a facilitation with a group of about 25 men about the weather doesn't show it outside here in Toronto, but it is springtime calendar wise, even though it's only like 40 plus degrees outside and windy and rainy. And I led a conversation about, when you go in, a lot of people think about spring cleaning and what are things they need to get rid of from the winter and just get rid of it and go into the springtime. So it was a great conversation. Then after that, I went down to a college and I was part of a panel discussion with a bunch of film and video students, and they were asking myself and other people in the industry some questions. So it was a lot of fun. I was supposed to go to another event. I said, no, 2's enough. Thank you. I'm not going to downtown Toronto on a cold, rainy day because I don't want to spend more time in traffic than in the event. I'm done.
No,
And
thank
plus,
you.
I value this platform more than that anyways.
I drove.
You drove. Oh, keep on going. I have something else I got to share with you guys. Usually I don't
drove from Connecticut to South Carolina.
Oh,
that's a drive.
Me and my daughter, and you know what though? We drove and we stopped outside Richmond, Virginia, at a hotel, and spent the night, and then got up the next day and drove the rest of the way. And it wasn't bad actually. But I've made that drive by myself. Like straight through and just stopped for like gas before, and that was like in my 20s and stuff and in my 30s, and I'm like, after I drove and I stopped and I'm like, how did I ever make that drive like straight through like that before? And I'm like, how did I ever do that? Not only that, how did I ever do that with a toddler?
Oh,
it's different.
And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Now, actually, good question then. What is is that the longest drive you've done, Aisha? And what's the longest drive you've done, Lala?
The longest I've ever done was from Nashville. Actually, take that back. Nope. From Connecticut to Atlanta.
Wow. Lala?
California to Florida.
Shut your what?
Not just once, but twice.
You're playing me. You're playing me.
You want to hear something even crazier? The second time, there was a truck accident and I was stuck on the road for 14 hours.
No.
And I could see my hotel in the distance, but I couldn't get off the road.
Was Will with you?
No.
You by yourself?
Yes.
So anyone, when you don't think the definition of strong Black women, you just heard it. Okay. Wow. Oh, wow.
Nope.
Yeah, I don't ever want to do it again.
Nope. I've had friends drive from Sacramento to Virginia.
Oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Black women, of course. Yeah, doing this. Yep. By themselves. Mm-hmm.
The furthest I've done is I've driven, and there were people in the car, but they were all sleeping. I drove from Atlanta to Toronto with 2 stops, like just to get gas. Atlanta to Toronto.
Yeah.
You better be careful with that. That's how I got my blood clot. I'll never do it again. Every 2 hours, I stop and I walk. I don't care where I am. I will stop and walk because I will never go through a blood clot like that again.
Yeah.
And it's because me and Will thought we were spring chickens and we drove from Denver to Las Vegas. And we were young. We didn't think it was a big deal and we didn't stop. Yeah, no.
Wow.
And you know what? Wow. I did that from South Carolina to Connecticut, 3.5 months pregnant.
Wow.
What?
And just stopped for gas and to use the bathroom. And now when you're in that second trimester of pregnancy, that's like you gotta pee every 2 hours.
Yeah.
Every 2 hours.
Wow.
And not only that, but you also have to nap every half hour. Imagine me fighting that, but wanting to get home. The desire to get home was stronger than the desire to nap and to have to pee. And I was like, no, I have to get home because the sooner I get home, the longer I can rest.
Wow.
And it was just,
holy smokes. Wow.
But I remember in that same time period, my grandmother was still alive and she lived in South Carolina. And I was leaving Columbia, South Carolina to go visit my grandmother in another part of South Carolina. That was an hour away. And I had to stop 20 minutes at a rest stop and take a half-hour nap because I couldn't make it. because that pregnancy
That's
tiredness got me.
crazy, ladies. And Lala, 14 hours and you could see your hotel?
I know you were pissed.
Yeah. I was so beyond ticked. I mean, and as we were slowing down, I was like, this isn't usual. And the only thing is, if I would have gotten off on the exit when I started saying, hey, maybe I should get off, then I would have at least made it to my hotel. But I cannot, because the trucks were all over the road. We all were stuck. And thank God I had the wherewithal to always carry a lot of extra water, because there were a lot of seniors who were on the road and couldn't eat. So I started walking up and down because we weren't moving. So I started walking up and down and looking for seniors and sharing the water, because 14 hours, no bathroom, no water, no nothing.
Ouch. But you know what though? I'm glad you did that and that you had that, because one of the things I noticed, at least for our generation traveling, whoever is programming the GPS now does not know what they're doing, and they do not know how to read a map, because we're traveling. And I'm telling my daughter, especially like this route to go, they might have changed the number of the exits, but the route doesn't change, right?
Right.
Unless they change the number of the exits. I'm telling my daughter, I'm like, no, we're going the right way. And I'm like, but why are they telling us to go this? I'm like, that doesn't make sense. It's like, it's going like to get to my dad's house. I know how you can just keep going here. And then once you get close here, you just take this diversion here and you can cross over here to get to my dad's house quick, fast, in a hurry. But they wanted me, while I was still in North Carolina, to take a highway that would take me all the way across the state of North Carolina to then go down south to this part of South Carolina, then to take the highway all the way across. I'm like, who did this? You remember how when we were younger and they give you the map and you could measure the kilometers at a piece of string and it would be X number of miles. And we did this exercise so that you knew how the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, and you just measure, and you knew how to. These kids don't know how to factor in and to look at a map like that and be like, oh, if I get this part of my finger here, that's going to be this number of miles, and it's shorter of a distance than if I just, go this way because it looks this way.
Right.
Right. It's like we can look at a map and be like, nah, even though it looks like it might be shorter, the from this knuckle here to this knuckle there is going to be longer because we learned that on a map.
That's right.
And I realized that the younger kids that are programming these GPS and programming these AI technologies that are doing these GPS things don't know how to figure those little kilometer things and the key and stuff on a map and figure it out with their finger or the inch of a fingernail that we know how to do to take shorter amounts of time.
That's right.
Because I realized, I was telling my daughter, I was like, no, just pull up a map of North Carolina. If I look at a map, I can actually see where I'm going. And she pulled up a map and I'm like, no, there's an interstate missing on that map.
Wow.
And she pulled up a map and I'm like, no, I-77 is missing off this map. And she's like, really? I'm like, no, there's a whole highway missing off this map. And I'm like, who's doing this? And I realized that these kids don't know how to read a map.
Nope.
All right.
But they're programming GPS, which is kind of like our tariff system, which those tariffs were programmed.
No. Hold on.
We're going to get to.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
How they got tariffs.
Just hold on. We're stopping there. All right. We're going to go to break because I don't want to take off. We're not ready to go off the runway yet.
We're not ready to go off the runway, but it's connected to the map.
Okay. Or as Ms. Black Hollywood say, okay. Right, Lala?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's go to break and then we'll take off. So we'll be back in 30 seconds. So we have Primetime Saturday with Aisha LaLa.
Will some of these places stand up and say, no, you can't come to our country? Because if they set that precedent, you might as well set the world on fire.
Right. He literally wrote an executive order defining what womanhood is.
This is the times that we live in now, y'all. You can either be mad about it and make yourself sick, or you can decide what you're going to do with your life and make it positive.
Hey, we are back. I believe we're back. Yes, we are back. Let me just get this out of my hair. Here we go. All right. Aisha, behave yourself. We haven't started. You just start pawing away on your keyboard. All right. Few things. First things first. Check out Girlfriends Chat with Aisha LaLa and Jill Jones at Patreon. There's the link. Primetime Saturday Show Store. There's the link. Join Primetime Saturday with Aisha LaLa Discord group. Please email me at dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. I'm going to say also before we leave, we don't say it, next show we'll actually have a link too, because I know email that, I'll have a link. Subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Please like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram to advertise your business, product, or service on any of the platforms that I'm a part of. Email me, dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com, and Indie Soup TV, because Dr. Tachi's in the house right now.
Yes, she is.
She is. Independent content creators platform, I think around 30, always growing, independent content creators, and 25,000 YouTube subscribers in less than a year. I was actually sharing about the platform, chatting with some college students, film and video or film and TV students today, and they go, "What? Who is this person?" I go, "She wears hats well." That's who I said. It's from Fort Lauderdale. All right. We got that out of the way. There's so many different. Okay.
Start with the comments.
And yeah, just hold on. News. We are broadcasting to a new platform today. We are broadcasting.
I know, but I will be quiet. I know.
Go ahead. Tell them who we're broadcasting today, Lala.
Substack.
Yes, we are broadcasting.
Yes, we are.
We are broadcasting to Substack now. For those people who don't know about Substack, basically, and Aisha may know a little bit more about this, help me out, that it's usually stuff for posts and writers, but now you are able to live stream on that platform. Thank you so much, Tanya Smith, for telling me that. And fantastic. It's not difficult. So if anyone needs on any information on how to broadcast live stream to Substack, chat with me. I just put in a request and got done in less than 24 hours.
Oh, nice. So I'll need your help because my Substack called This Thing Called Life, which I figure out how to get it up and running. No problem. I'm learning on the go. Like I said, I'm engaged to it. I'm not married to it yet. Yeah,
I'm engaged to it. That's the way we're looking at it. Let's look at some comments here. Dr. Tachi says, "Good evening." Hello, Dr. Tachi. Enlightened beings. Hello. Hope you're doing well. I'll go to Dr. Tachi because Aisha's she hasn't taken off yet. Dr. Tachi says, "I love that." Yes. Nice. That is really good. And I'll just put in a little quick thing. Last Saturday, the reason why I was in here, because I had a chance to spend 8 hours with Dr. George Fraser. And that was amazing. Yeah, he was here for a conference to speak. I had the honor for the second year in a row to pick him up. And when I picked him up, I said, "Hey, you're not on till like 5 o'clock. It's about 12:30. What do you want to do?" "Well, let's go get something." I said, "Dr. Fraser, can we have a sit-down interview?" He said, "Sure." So I ran into the restaurant area. It was closed, but all the chairs up. Took the chairs down. And Lee said, "What are you doing?" He says, "I'd like to do an interview here." "No problem." So I had 40 minutes one-on-one with Dr. George Fraser, and it is recorded and documented. And he also gave me a humbling testimony. Really, that was really, really good. Great conversation. All right. One other thing, and this is something we talked about the last time we were on the show, and it's really coming to fruition hot and heavy. It's a good introduction to what we're going to be, the things we're going to be chatting about today. But look at this story. Canada warns travelers of U.S. border agents' authority to search electronic devices. The Canadian government is warning citizens visiting the United States that the U.S. border officials have the authority to search travelers' electronic devices, including phones, laptops, and tablets without a reason.
I'm here.
Travel advised the outline. The Canadians to expect scrutiny, quote, expect scrutiny when crossing the border, and warns refusing to comply involves risks, including device seizure, travel delays, or denial of entry for U.S. citizens. We talked about this 2 weeks ago, family.
Just don't come.
I told you.
Yeah. Yep. So be careful if you are wanting to travel to the United States, because your electronic devices could be confiscated and they may be looking for stuff and they see stuff they don't like. Hey, I wouldn't even put it by them arresting you.
That's the point.
Just don't come here.
Yeah, and that is, it's not a pretty story. Not a pretty story. All right, let's lead into this. And just a heads up, Aisha will have to leave probably an hour into the conversation unless we twist her arm, or when she just forgets time and gets so passionate like she always does. But let's start it. 47's reciprocal tariff.
Let's start with my comment here.
Okay, we'll put your comment up. Now we'll put your comment up. So Aisha said, ChatGPT is no way to find your way on a map. And it's no way to find out of a tariff war either. One other thing too, if you're watching this live via the YouTube channel, put in your in the comments section what city and what country you're checking us out from. All right, ladies, tariff war, chat, let's go.
Let me start by, I was watching the announcement. So first of all, let's be very clear. He made this announcement at 4 o'clock because he wanted to make it after the markets closed. So there would be no trading on Wall Street and it wouldn't have a chance to hit. But one of the interesting things for me was when they put up the formula. Now, if you're anyone who's done anything with statistics, if you've taken any kind of statistics class, if you taught any statistics class, I have, Dr. Tachi, you being a social scientist, know this. Statistical formulae, the weight that we give the meaning to the outcomes change depending on what your specialization is. The formulae don't change. And those little, the little symbols that stand for something, the numbers you plug in might differ, but the little formula, the little things, they don't change. So when I looked at I was like, what? This doesn't make any sense. Like one of the things there represented statistical significance. And I'm like, why is this in the middle of a formula when that's like really an outcome that you use to compare things to? Basically, what someone found, and media did a very bad job at reporting this, they literally put something into ChatGPT, and this is the formula that ChatGPT spit out. And they went and took this and put it on a placard and were sharing it as if it was a legitimate formula. And all kinds of economics people, all kinds of statisticians were like, we've never seen this formula before. This formula makes no sense. Like,
guess who else doesn't understand the formula, Aisha? The penguins.
Oh, we're going to get to that in a minute. And not only that, but they were just, the things don't represent the things that they said that they do, right? Not only that, but we are being treated very unfairly by the penguins and the seals on the McDonald Island. Okay, they are charging us 10% tariffs. And so we are getting them back. The president of McDonald Island, which is a penguin, is charging us a 10% tariffs. So I think that they're going to deal. The penguins have decided that they're going to deal. We're charging them a 10% tariff, but they might deal because the penguins there seem to like Trump, and they might back down off their 10% tariff. I mean, it's uninhabitable by humans, so we'll see what it does there, because we get so many goods from what the penguins and the seals manufacture there, from the lava of the erupting volcanoes on this uninhabited island.
No, I heard they was protesting today.
I mean, yeah, the penguins might be protesting because, slave labor laws. I mean, but come on. But this is where we are. This is insane. And the man is doubling down on it. This is great. It's going to hurt just a little bit, but there's going to be so much winning, so much wealth. He's so concerned about this country and its people that while the military brought back 4 of its dead, he's over there playing golf in Mar-a-Lago with the Saudis.
Yeah.
He couldn't even meet them when their bodies came back. But you know who did send them back, and who was it Norway? Was it the Norway people?
Yes.
Whoever it was that honored them, had a parade for them. They're not even their soldiers, right? But this man, he has no respect for our military. He has no respect for our citizens. He has no respect for people whose specialty it is to be focused, to know the statistical formula behind tariffs. He has no respect for them to even know the science behind it.
I was actually shocked that he didn't use Grok. He used ChatGPT.
The fact that he thinks that nobody would have figured it out.
You don't care, Aisha? You don't care.
And this is, and that's the scary part. The tariffs aren't even reciprocal. Reciprocal is reciprocity is you tariff me, I'm gonna tariff you at the same level. It's gonna be equal. It's not even equal. Okay, and let's be clear. These are blanket tariffs across the board, and he's acting as if there are things that are made in America that are solely made in America. So, for example, Susan Collins out of Maine made a very good point about Maine lobster, for example, isn't manufactured just in Maine. The Maine lobster, the Maine fishermen, they might get the lobster off the coast of Maine, but it gets processed in Canada. So in order for them to get their lobster back, they got to pay a tariff to the Canadian manufacturers that process the Maine lobster before they can sell it to Maine consumers. It is insane.
All right. Before we go further, just some comments here. All right. Let me just catch up. Okay. Okay. We got, there's the comments just flown in. So Dr. Tachi says, hey, Regina. So Regina's in the house. Also, Dr. Tachi says laugh emojis. I don't know exactly 2, but laugh emojis she has up here. And then Enlightened Beings goes, I am good. The tornado's so bad here and the floods are crazy. Whoa. Whoa, yeah. That's not good.
They were talking about that today on the news.
All right.
Yeah, that's my cousin.
Yeah. Dr. Tachi says, loud and wrong. Okay. Right to the point. Regina says, I was protesting today. Thousands of us in the pouring rain. She says, Congress is on to 47. His money laundering with Justin Sun and China is being exposed. Dr. Tachi says he can't spell reciprocal. So let's start with that.
Yeah.
Dr. Tachi says, wow, Regina. Also, Lighting Being says, we did too here in Kentucky, Regina. It was my very first protest. They tried to get the police to intermediate, but they basically stood aside. And Regina says, good for you.
And you know what, Regina, you're right about Congress. And Congress is on to him. But here's the thing. Even the Republicans in Congress, they know what they have to do. So here's what's going on. I'm glad you brought that up. Here's what's going on in Congress. So the Senate is really unhappy with these tariffs. That's why they passed a piece of legislation and they signed it. They voted it 51%, they got the 51 votes to strike down the tariffs, right? Because basically Trump can't put these tariffs out without Congress, right? So the Senate said, yeah, we're not doing these tariffs. They sent the bill to the House. The House has to vote on it in a certain time period. But they don't have to vote on it if the day doesn't pass. So what Congress decided to do is to say that this congressional term is going to be one long day until the next election. So the next 2 years until the next Congress is sworn in is one day. That's how they get out of bringing to a vote.
I'm so tired of this circus.
Now, here's my thing. You know what? If it's going to be one long day, then they should only be paid for that one day.
I thank you.
Then
But you know that it's never going to affect their pocket, Aisha. They're never going to do anything to affect their pocket or to vote against what they want to do by giving term limits. They're never going to do it.
But the people should then say, then the people need to start calling, flood the switchboard, start calling these people and say, if you're going to have the one day and not bring it to a vote, then you should be paid for the one day. Then you should be paid for the one day. And guess what? Tariffs pay for themselves. Pay for the one. If that's it, then there's the money right there, and we won't complain.
Enlightened Being says there were with this protest that they attended today, there were several Republicans who joined the Senate Democrats to rescind 47's Canada tariffs. Regina says, which is good news.
Yep, Rand Paul was one of them.
Yeah, Congress can strike down these tariffs tomorrow. Somebody needs to disappear, Mike Johnson. And Regina says, yeah, that day is going to get overturned once Johnson gets replaced. He sucks.
But they won't. But here's the problem. They're not going to replace him because Congress is in the pot for Trump. That is the problem. That is the problem. Inherently, Congress knows that they have the power. See, they have the power of the purse. The tariffs are the power of the purse. Trump can't do these tariffs unilaterally. It's Congress that has to grant him the permission. And by not taking that vote, by saying it's one long day, they're giving him the permission.
LaLa, I want you to chime in, but I just want to do something. We're running a poll right now. If you're watching on the Dr. Vibe Show YouTube channel, if you're doing that, we're running a quick poll here. Do you feel that 47's tariffs are fair?
No.
Yes, no, not sure. So if you're watching on the Dr. Vibe Show YouTube channel, either type in yes or no. It's already no or not sure. It's already happening. There we go. We'll have.
It's not that they're not fair. It's that they're uninformed and ignorant.
Okay. LaLa, what is your take on this tariff situation?
It's absolutely ridiculous. It's just all made up fairy dust. Anything that they can do to cause discord or cause us not to see what else they're doing in the background, that's what they're doing. We've talked about this. Steve Bannon has already said it many years ago that if you want to win this war against the people, meaning them versus us, you sow discord. You put so much stuff out there at one time that you cannot get them to focus on one thing. You may be upset about education. Well then here comes, the tariffs. And then next thing you know, they're firing people for anything that has to do with DEI. Okay, now we're going to this. Now it's Musk. And now, so you don't know where to concentrate. Now, listen, here's the thing. And I've been saying it from the beginning. You have to be able to see through the smokes. These tariffs are hurting America. We know that. I know that from being overseas, that the EU is lining up totally perfectly against the United States of America. What you're not hearing and what you're not seeing is exactly what they're doing, because they don't want you to, because our media has been compromised. So what you need to do, and I did a video about it today, You need to get focused, stop getting angry, because if you just stay in anger, then you're just going to be paralyzed and nothing will be done. Stay angry, but stay angry with a purpose. Whatever it is that is your passion under this umbrella of activism and under this umbrella of real patriotism, you pick up that banner which matters to you the most. Because it's going to take all of us to take something that makes us passionate to even get any movement toward what we're doing. So don't just think that you have to tackle absolutely everything that's out there, because it's all going to affect us anyway. Because regardless of how you voted, this man is still in office. Whether he cheated or not, which we know he did, he's still in office, and he's dragging us through this hell with them. Pick your poison and fight.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I don't hear too many people saying this policy is going to be great. Aside, yesterday we had Wayne Harris on the Morning Vibe, and he did a very interesting correlation. At least the 5 last times the United States was in a recession, guess who the ruling party was?
GOP. It's historical.
I did not know. I did not know that point. I did not know that point. Okay, Regina says the people are pushing back. Also says Congress had to answer to donors and constituents, though. And Regina also says my brother is a rhino and is a financial portfolio manager. He is aghast by these tariffs. He has hundreds of portfolios to maintain. And that's another thing. How much the stock market dropped? How many? An interesting comment I heard by someone today saying, how many people who are in their last year before they go retirement, how much money have they lost?
Yep.
I had a good friend post just that today, Dr. Vibe, a good friend who has been actively putting into his 401k. Within the last days when the stock market crashed, he's lost $13,900 overnight.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. The truth of the matter is that anyone who was smart, who had their 401k, would have taken it out last week and just paid the penalty. Because you'll trust me, the penalty is going to be less than what people are going to lose.
Yeah.
Because bottom line, there was someone who was saying that they lost like $29,000-$30,000 in the 2 days. And they were like, well, I could have just taken this out and lost the same amount last week, but it would have been at my own hand. And that would have been it. But I don't know how much I'm going to lose now. And banks, and here's the thing, is that because of the way things are, these 401ks see people losing, and they know the thing of people's panic is going to be to start taking the money out. They're like, no, we can't do this. We will collapse. And so they're not going to let people take their money out. It's just.
The thing is, he's also said he doesn't care.
No,
Literally,
they don't.
He has said it out of his own mouth, which was exact opposite of what he said when he was running. We all know that he's a snake-tongued devil. He's fucking evil. And I'm sorry, I will never back down off of that statement. Someone posted the other day, and I said, oh my God, that is so perfect. The bar is so low that even the demons in the pit of hell are looking down on the bar. This is where we are. He literally said he doesn't care. He doesn't care. This is what you need to do. You need to start buying American. We don't have the resources that we used to have to even make American stuff. We depend on other countries to even do anything. He's talking about taking lumber. We don't even have that much lumber. Even if you cut down wood, you don't have enough lumber to do what we need to do here in America. So basically, he just said, fuck America. I'm going to get mine, and whatever y'all do is all on you. And that's what he said. Well, now he's out golfing.
But see, the other thing too is that for some reason, he seems to think that if people don't have the choice of buying things that are cheap coming into this country from other places, that then they'll just buy the American alternative as opposed to just not buying it altogether. He forgets the third option is just not buying it altogether. People, the same people who would rather not have things so that the Black and brown people don't have them at all, would rather not have a car than to buy a $65,000 American-made car because they can't buy the $30,000 Japanese-made car in America. Trust. They'll be like, oh, I just don't need that brand new car right now. I'm
don't
good.
buy a Cybertruck. They're not even insurable.
I will patch up my old car. You know, I'll rig my own car. We're not that kind of country anymore. Not only that, but guess what? For us to even go back to making those things anymore, we need to have the plants in order to be able to do it. We don't even have the car making plants to do it. We don't have the car making, forget the car making plants to make the cars. We don't have the steel plants to make the steel that makes the cars. Hell, guess what? We don't even have the glue manufacturer to make the glue that Elon Musk needed for his Cybertrucks to not fall apart because they had the wrong glue. Okay?
And are now uninsurable.
Right. So come on. What is he talking about?
Okay, I just want to touch base with some more comments. Enlightened Being says, Lala is right. You just can't sit and cry and scream. Pick something and fight.
Yeah.
Dr. Tachi says, hashtag fork-tongued devil. Okay. Regina, wow, saying she lost $65K in the 2020 crash. Wow. Dr. Tachi, okay, you know what? Okay, let's see. Dr. Tachi says, we are not a manufacturing country any longer. The robots and all have taken over. Does he think the economy can survive off of my pillows and 47 Bibles?
Let me tell you something. You know what? Like I said, I drove from Connecticut to South Carolina. Let me tell you something. On all the rest stops, and I remember making this trip when I was younger, and we used to drive. At the rest stops, there used to be the restaurants, and there would be somebody cooking at the rest stops. And you could stop at the places, and there would be somebody there cooking. Guess what there's not now? Nobody cooking. Everything is an express place, and there's one or two people back there that can microwave the food because everything is prepackaged. Even from the places that are local, everything's prepackaged that they can stick, and it's a kiosk. And you order at a kiosk, and that's that. It's so what makes you think that this country that has moved to this?
Lala, I got a question for Lala, but I'm going to do comments first. Regina says, BS on manufacturing. They fired 1/3 of the scientists working on the CHIPS Act. He has actively gone after bipartisan infrastructure bill project funding. I hate him. Dr. Chachi says to Regina, losing $65K. Sorry to hear that, Regina. Also, Dr. Chachi says, absolutely. Did they forget that steel comes from elsewhere? Regina says, it's a catalog of incompetence.
Yes.
And then Enlightened Being says, people truly need to start learning to grow their own food. Most people don't even understand where their food comes from.
But you know, though, Enlightened Being, real quick, you know what food prices are going down? And I said this on my Blue Sky because he said this and gaslighted people into believing it. Wholesale food prices are going down. He said, oh, we got the price of eggs to go down 50%. Now they're 59%. He's right about that. But it's the wholesale prices go down. Most American families shop retail. That means his friends, the businesses, their prices of eggs are going down. Now, if we all in our communities formed co-ops where we bought in wholesale and split those costs, then you want to know what would happen? The retail costs would go down because they'd want us to buy retail.
All right. Just going to update in real time. No one who's answered the poll thinks the tariffs are fair. Again, if you're watching the Dr. Vibe Show YouTube channel live, running a live poll, do you think the 47 tariffs are fair? You either type in yes, enter, no, enter, or not sure, enter. Just want to keep that update. LaLa, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Okay. 47 wants to bring all this manufacturing back to America. I don't understand that, because will Americans be willing to accept the wages?
No.
I don't.
That's one thing. But two, you also have to remember historically, once again, it's the GOP that always was forcing, hey, we want you be able to run businesses. Let's allow you to ship shit overseas. Let's allow India to answer our phones. You know, they're always the ones who start this problem. So therefore, you know, and then they want to blame the Democrats. But nobody in America, as much as people keep saying that they want jobs, they want to pick and choose what job they want. They want to pick a job that's going to pay them over $100,000 and have no training. They don't want to go to school for it, and they're not willing. There are many that will not be willing to do what needs to be done to get the pay that they want. But minimum wage, y'all, has not gone up in I don't know how many years. I think I lost count after like 10, 12, 20. Okay. But the cost of living has gone up. What's the old slide song? Everybody wants to be a star. No, you cannot be a star. Somebody got to work these fields, and you're chasing all the people who are willing to do that. Americans, basic Americans for the most part, because remember, we don't say all up in this piece, but we do know a lot of them don't want to do the hard work that it takes. I got a wheeze today. I can't be out in the sun today. I get sunburned. Ooh, girl, it's too hot. I can't pick them green beans out there. That is the typical American person right now. They want, but they don't want to work for it.
Yeah.
Entitlement?
There's only a few places, though, where they could put these places. Let me tell you something. Where you live, and this is how you shoot yourself in the foot. You red states that love your right to work. This is why your minimum wage stays at $5 and $6 an hour.
All right.
Because guess what? To manufacture to do all this car manufacturing stuff, that's a skilled labor. You can't just take somebody off the street, especially these cars that have all these computer programs. These cars, it requires skilled labor. That is why it requires somebody who makes $20 an hour to put these things together. You can't just, it's not like the 1950s, and you can just take somebody right out of high school and they can fix a car and put a car together. No, you might used to be able to pay somebody $5 and $6 an hour. No, this is a $20 skilled labor intensive job now. And that is why they want to go places where people are going to get 2- and 4-year educations to do these jobs. That's why these car manufacturers are going overseas. And that's why they're not building them here. They'll let you sell it, because guess what? That doesn't take the kind of education that it takes to build them.
You know,
Okay.
I saw something this week before we move on, because I think this is very important. I saw something this week that really made me stop in my tracks, because I do know it. I know it, but because the way the media spins all these tariffs, and a lot of people don't really understand, even though we keep explaining over and over and over what a tariff is. There was a beer company that came out and literally came out and explained to people in real time what this is going to look like for them. Their aluminum cost for the cans have gone up 17%. The other things that they do, the plastic for putting the six packs together has gone up. They explained everything. So therefore, this is going to be harder for the bars, the restaurants, and just regular consumers to purchase from them. They cannot raise their prices because their demographic for their beer will not pay more than what they're paying now. And they've studied this for years, so they know that the demographic is not going to buy their beer if they raise it. So it all comes down to people now. So they're saying, stop thinking about this as just money. We need to understand that it's more than money, it's people, because they're going to have to recoup somewhere, and it's going to have to be their employees. And they don't want to do that, but they have no choice. There's nothing else they can do. If they raise prices, nobody's going to buy. They have no choice but to pay for the tariffs. So there's people that they're going to have to let go. And this affects their family. This affects their community. This affects everything. And they wanted people to see and understand that this is just more than money. This is people's jobs and not just your pockets.
Yeah. Yeah. And let's be very clear. These tariffs are a smokescreen for something else. I mean, let's be very, very clear. He's using the tariffs to distract from the fact that our allies and the rest of the world are pulling away from us. He's going to say it's because of the tariffs, but that's not why. They're pulling away from us because he's a horrible person. Because he's doing horrible things around the world. And just watch this space. The tariffs are a smokescreen, but if the rest of the world is pulling away from us, there's very good reason. And we need to watch why.
I just want to chime in. Okay, if you're watching live on the Dr. Vibe Show YouTube channel, I have a question for you. What are some of your thoughts about 47's reciprocal tariffs? So if you can, 1 or 2 sentence response would be fantastic. 1 or 2 sentences, and if you're watching this live on the replay, you'll see the chat that's going on. It's floating down. Let me just. Okay, let's get. All right, going back to the top here, we've got Dr. Tachi says, "What? Stop the stupidity? You've thrown out the people who would possibly work in these jobs because Americans are not going to work these factory jobs." Dr. Taji says, right. American greed was the beginning of the problem. These companies were the ones who were trying to make record profits and ship jobs overseas, but nobody is pointing the finger at them.
And let's be clear, even before that, Dr. Tachi, you're so right about that. But let's be clear. One of the reasons too that they also started shipping the jobs overseas was because Americans started to not want to work them. They needed somebody to work them, right? Americans also started to not want to work the jobs, right? Because why? White people started saying that, oh, these are the jobs for the blacks and the others. We don't want to work those jobs anymore. I can
tell you right now, one of my sisters works in the Ford truck assembly line. Baby, that ain't no easy feat. They are working in there in 125, 135, 140 degree weather. They can't keep it cool enough. Those machines are too hot. When she comes out of there, she is drenched from head to toe. People don't want to work that hard no more. The next thing you know, somebody got a heat allergy. They don't want to work in that. So I just don't understand how people just think that all of this is going to be okay when nobody wants to do what they need to do to make it right. It's always somebody else's problem. You don't ever want to really look at it for yourself. You're going to have to at some point step in and notice that, baby, this is a you problem just as much as it is an us problem, and stop bitching about it. So, like, if you don't like what's going on, it's time to motivate and aggravate and march and do what we need to do. And don't let them tell you that we can't do that. Because I'm going to tell you right now, the marches are going on today. Us 92%ers, we're not doing it. We're letting them do it. However, the numbers are staggering with how many people are protesting today. You gonna hear me? They're not reporting that.
You know what? Here's what's funny to me. Them thinking that they're going to get people to go back in those factories, whatever. The only people who would consider going back in those factories are the same age as Donald Trump. And you know how we know this? Because there are two living generations who created the job of influencer. They created a whole job category so they don't have to leave their homes. So they don't have to leave their computers. So they don't have to leave their camera phones to go work in somebody's factory, to go work in somebody's store, to go work in somebody's office. What makes you think those people are going to go work in somebody's factory sweating for 20 hours a day for minimum wage when they can sit at home and stream from in the air conditioning and stream from their video phone, stream from their phone for an hour to make what that person will make in a factory in 6 hours, what they can make in a half hour. Come on now.
Got it. Next, move further. Aisha says, enlightened beings, tomatoes, cucumbers, peppers are easy to grow if you don't have a lot of space or a lot of experience. They grow fast in abundance. All right. Dr. Tachos says, to enlightened beings, may your garden flourish. And I'm learning to do, enlightened beings says, I learned to do pot growing. You can do several things in one pot. Regina says, I have picked in the fields. It's exhausting. My sister and I picked with green beans one summer when we were teens. Man, we got a gardening tip going on here. Regina says, I love gardening. Gardening is healing. Dr. Tach says, Regina, it can be grueling work. Aisha says, my mom, man, we're on a whole growing vibe today. My mom grows tomatoes on her back porch in pots and cucumbers. Back to politics. Regina says, that's why the whole deportation scheme is insane.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Regina says, I love pot gardens. I don't know if I'm going to touch that. Let's move it forward. Aisha goes, the tariffs are a small.
No, pot gardens are the gardens you have in your backyard that you grow in pots. Like you can grow them on, like if you don't have like a few, like only a deck or whatever, it's a garden, but you grow them in pots.
Yeah.
Okay. Regina says,
not a pot garden.
Yeah. You know, these, yeah, I'm going,
But you have those too.
All right. Regina says, if China is paying off 47, to trap U.S. market while looking like his victim, they can replace all of our business. And Enlightening Beings goes, I wish I could get a true understanding of why people do not see this. It's so plain. Aisha says something I didn't hear from too many commentators. Russia was the only nation that did not get a tariff. I wonder why. And then Enlightened Being says tariff. Yes, tariff. Enlightened Being says tariffs are stupid. They make no sense. It is a false narrative to making America great again. Enlightened says Korea either, Asia. Regina says, yep, and he deals with the Saudis too. We know who bought those missing docks from Mar-a-Lago. Aisha says his friends Enlightened Beings. Also says Stellantis just laid out, 900 workers during the tariffs. Actually, the plant in Windsor, which is across the river from Detroit, has sent their workers home for 2 weeks.
Yeah. And if you don't know, Stellantis makes what brand of car is it again?
Chryslers.
Yeah.
Yep.
American-made cars, people.
Yeah. Dr. Tachi says, listen, millennials and Gen Z are not with the debauchery. They don't want to go working somebody's sweltering factory. I don't want to either. And then Dr. Tachi says it's crazy. They leveled a 49% tariff against Cambodia.
And here's the thing. Let's be very clear. There is not one store, one business in America, one flower shop, one candy store, any business in the United States of America that's including the great Make America Great Again merchandise that sells anything in this country that is not made someplace else.
Yeah, because that show is made in China.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Well, I want to thank everyone. I want to thank everyone for taking part in the interactive stuff. Lovely comments going on there. I'm gonna stop it right now. And Enlightened Being says, and all this TikTok crap, please, Zuck owns them. They can have it. Since Zuck got involved, it's not the same anyways. Okay. I think we're on to our next conversation topic. Aisha, we're on the top of the hour, so no problem when you got to leave.
I wanted to get to the next topics, and then I can go after that one.
Okay, so maybe people heard about it. Senator Cory Booker on his marathon 25-hour speech on the Senate floor. Go for it.
Yeah. The reason I want to get on this one is because of the record that he broke, because the news media coverage, I think that people, when they said that he broke Strom Thurmond's record, I think the context has to be made that Strom Thurmond broke the record while trying to block the 1957 Civil Rights Bill while having a Black daughter. I think that part can't be, the irony about that can't be said long enough. And I actually did do some work with that daughter and the granddaughter when I used to live in South Carolina. And it came out that after he died, the fact that he did something. First of all, I have to say, I love the fact that when Chuck Schumer got up there and said, "Can I ask you a question?" He said no. he said yes. He said, may I, he said, "Will you take a question or something?" And he said no. I love that. But that was when he broke the record. I'm very proud of him. And I'm glad that he broke that record. So now the only record that Strom Thurmond has is for being a racist, for being the oldest living racist in the Senate, period. That was it. He was a racist for 100 years. He lived to be 100-year-old racist in the Senate. That's it. Not for this. And now we have something clear. That's clean. But that he did something. And that not only that he did something, but that he did something of substance. I don't think people understand. This goes into the record. Not only does it go into the record, but he told people stories. That goes into the record.
Yeah.
He didn't sit there like Ted Cruz and read Green Eggs and Ham, or like Strom Thurmond did, which was nonsense. He read nonsense. He read poems of nonsense. He sang songs of nonsense. He peed in a bucket, and that was on the record. But no, Cory Booker, he spoke people's names. He told people's truths. He told people stories. He told what people were losing. He spoke substance. So the truth of the moment is now in the record. That is important. That matters. People were seen and heard. That matters. That was seen. That matters. And the fact that it wasn't just something that he said he was going to do, and we got our hopes up that he was and wasn't going to get through it. This is something that this man, it was deliberate action. It was coordinated action. He didn't tell anybody except for his own staff. It was a need to know thing. The members of the Congressional Black Caucus knew he was going to do something. They did not know what until the day of.
That's exactly what we mean by move
Deliberate.
in silence.
Yes, silence. Yes. He stopped eating on Friday. He stopped drinking on Saturday. So he would be dehydrated. And then he told the members of the Senate that he needed to ask him substantive and long questions so that he could take vocal breaks, and they understood the assignment. Chris Murphy asked him 20-minute long questions of substance so that he could rest his vocal cords. And understand, this man could not sit down. He could not leave. He could not use the bathroom. Nothing. Okay? So it took discipline. And the fact that he had more discipline in a 25-hour period than Chuck Schumer showed in leadership. I might not have always agreed with everything that Cory does in the Senate, but this right here, it took some wherewithal. And the fact that he didn't take that moment and fill it with fluff and stuff,
That's the
filled it with
difference.
substance, is something that is admirable. Because any other senator, because I promise you, any other senator that would have tried to replicate that would have filled it with fluff, because it would have just been for the breaking of the record. But he broke the record with substance, and that can't be taken away from him.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Some more comments here. Regina says, Cambodia is a broke blank country. I was there in November. I was told China and Australia were investing in building up Phnom Penh. And also Enlightened Being says, I am so very proud of Booker to do that. And I have the same question. What difference is that going to make?
Well, like I said, the difference that it does make is that for this to go into the record, that is the congressional record. This record lives beyond all of us. For example, the fact that we all know about the record of Strom Thurmond that existed before any of us was here. Think about that. We all know about that record. None of us was here in 1957, but we know about that record. We know that record got broken. 50 years from now, guess who will know about that record that Cory Booker did? People that we will have never met will know about that record.
100%.
And if nothing else, keep in mind, it's better than Hakeem Jeffries sitting there saying, "What can we do?"
All right.
Because guess who was up in the Senate? Guess who was up in the Senate chamber cheering him on? The dude that said, "What can we do? We don't have power."
Oh gosh. All right. Let's go to our next comment. Regina says, and Ted Cruz did a filibuster against the Affordable Care Act. Glad Thurmond was relegated to a footnote.
And Ted Cruz read green eggs and ham when he could have had substance. But here's the thing: his whole point wasn't to have substance; it was just to make noise and to stop a vote.
All right. Let me just see where I want to go next. All right, Dr. Chachi says, and he broke the record with substantive material. The other guy was doing things like taking bathroom breaks and reading green eggs and ham. Thurmond was just trying to be disruptive. Regina says, I learned so much about the Dems senators who chimed in throughout the day. I love the warmth and love Cory introduced his fellow senators with. She says Cory's passion, idealism, and love of the country were undeniable. Almost 200 million views of his speech per date. Enlightened Being says, I love he had so much substance while it was up there. I watched a bit of it. It was rich.
Yep.
Was
And you know
good.
what, Regina? That 200 million was just in the US. They said outside of the US, the number totals is 368. They said total between the US and outside, there were more. It was more people than exist in the US. It was outrageous, the number of people that they said had watched it in and out the US. It's insane.
Regina says, I watched it for 10 hours straight. You could, Regina. Carried my phone everywhere and kept listening. It was amazing. But it does not change real life. Enlightened Being also says, I don't want to see him being like just being a downer. I just want to understand. Enlightened Beings, I promise I know how to type. Sorry for the errors. That's okay. Regina says 4 Republican senators voted with the Dems the day after that speech. 8 Republican reps voted with the Dems the next day. And Dr. Taji says, and Senator Booker had a town hall in New Jersey today, right before you all came on. Interesting. Yeah. Where does this? Do you see Cory Booker running for the Democratic nomination
again?
No. We're a few years out, but do you see that?
Again? No, he said he's running again for Senate in 26 because he's up next year.
Okay.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing, right? Because remember the Senate. I think what you have here. What does this do? I think the Senate is going to be a bit more flexible than the House. One of the things I think you're going to see now that he did this is you're going to see a fever breaking in the Senate that doesn't happen in the House. Remember the Senate with a lot of the things. And I think that first thing you see is with this tariff thing is a lot of work in the Senate is that 2/3 majority. They have to have that 2/3. I think you're going to start to see them pull away from that. I think him doing this you're going to start to see a bit more of that kind of pull away from that 2/3 majority stuff, just because of the acknowledgement from the other side. Because that is the one thing that you didn't see on the other side was this kind of wow. What are we doing? What are we doing on this side? What are we doing that looks like courage? We're not doing anything that looks like courage. I mean, when John Thune stepped up and was like, this is a good moment for America, what you just did, Cory Booker. Okay? He's no bastion of liberalism, okay? When he stands up and is like, we need to take a moment and acknowledge this, okay? When Mitch McConnell turns around and is kind of like, yeah, these tariffs are horrible. Let's call, because guess what? Here's the thing. It wasn't Republicans that called that vote yesterday. That was a Democrat thing yesterday. It was the Democrats that called that to a vote. They didn't expect any Republicans to come with that. They got enough for it to be a majority.
Aisha,
they didn't just get like their ones.
I'm wary of your time. I'm wary of your time because I'm gonna let if you need to go. All right, no problem.
I gotta go to sleep, guys. But I do want to say this one thing because I'm dog tired. I do want to say this one thing about the Black History Museum.
Okay, what you know what? Let's put that up on the screen. All right. Okay, go ahead and then LaLa will put them in.
I was saying this to my family earlier. People were saying this, oh, the head of the Black History Museum, he's strong, he's not going to leave. I knew he was going to leave. I knew they're targeting the heads, the Black History Museum, the Women's History, and the Indigenous. All I'm going to say is that all of the estates, all the people who donated everything, all of our living Black history people, go get your stuff back before they take our artifacts and lose them. Get your shit and take it, donate it to some of our private, there are tons of private Black history museums, but take it back from this federal one before they lose it and destroy it, because I have a feeling that is what will happen until we get rid of these people. So go get your stuff back. And bye, everybody. I'll see you next
All
week.
right. No problem. See you next week.
Bye.
So, Lala, that was, what is your take on the head of the African American Museum departing as 47 targets the Smithsonian?
I think it's smart because you know what, we already know it was going to come, period. And hopefully he was smart enough to do exactly what Aisha said, and I don't doubt that he does. People in those roles understand just how important their roles are in history. So I doubt that he just stepped down and just walked away and didn't do some type of action that we may not know about. He could have very well made those phone calls that Aisha said, like, you know, you better come and get this stuff. This man is also he's definitely whitewashing America. Anything that has to do with anyone who is considered a minority, or, you know, have any type of color or anything with them, is going to be erased. That is their goal. And the stars have aligned for them. And so we never thought that we would see these stars aligned, but they told us a long time ago that this is what they were going to do. So I think it's honorable for him to go ahead and step down, but I think he probably stepped down with a plan. And we don't know what that plan is yet. But this is what I say. I don't need to know that plan right now. I need us to move in silence, because if we just scream it, they have other ways to take it away. So why not move in silence and rebuild where it makes a difference within our own communities?
All right, some comments here. Enlightened Being says they are even saying Native Americans do not have birthright.
Yeah.
Dusty Bunny says, we love you, Aisha. Dr. Tachi says, someone made mention of asking Tyler Perry to at least store all of those artifacts in his studio in Atlanta. That could possibly work if he was open to it.
I don't doubt that he would be, and I think that would be a wonderful idea. But here's the thing too, Dr. Tachi, and I don't know if you feel the same way. At this point, I don't want anybody to know where none of our shit is. I just need it to be protected. And you know how here's a perfect example, Dr. Vibe. We have protocols in place where if we are attacked, our documents, our historical things for America, the things like the Declaration of Independence, all that stuff, they automatically go underground. There's a reason, there's a protocol for that, right? So why not take a cue for what they're doing with those type of documents within our own culture? I advise that the Native Americans, the indigenous people, do the same thing. And now we all need to be protecting our history so that when it's time for that sun to shine again, because we're in darkness, that we have those to pass down. Also to learn what we did in our community. When we couldn't read or write, we passed our stories down verbally. It's time for you to learn how to pass your story down and to keep that going, and to make it very clear to our children and our grandchildren, even from when they're babies in your arm and you're sitting there rocking them at night, how important these stories are. An example of this is my dad. My dad would repeat stories so much that people would be like, oh God, here comes David again. He's going to repeat the same story. Oh God, David's coming. And, at the time you're thinking to yourself, oh, do we have to listen to this again? But here I am at 55 years old, and I find how important that is. And I'm passing it down to my son. I'm passing it down to my grandnephews. I'm passing it down to my nieces. I'm passing it down to my generations and instilling in them how important it is.
Absolutely. Dr. Tachi says, exactly. Move in silence. Regina says, what if the building was, quote, rented, unquote, by a private entity and the contents returned and it was run by the community, not the government?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And look, this is what I'm saying. Yep. Hope somebody picks up on that comment.
What a thing. Wants to take away all the history.
Every last bit of it. He truly wants to wipe us out. And I don't say that lightly. I really and truly mean it. Guys, if they could take us back to slavery and they can get back to the lynchings and the whippings and whatever they need to do, that's what they want. That's what they mean when they say make America great again, because it was only great for them, not for us.
All right, let's go to our final conversation piece. And it was one that Lala brought up, and we have something we want to show in coordinating with this last conversation piece. So let me bring it up if I can find it. Yes. All right, let's bring it up on the screen and let's play it.
So, check on your North Carolina friends today. It's been a rough one. Justice Riggs, our state Supreme Court justice, won her election in November. The Republican Party doesn't like that they lost, and so they're trying to throw votes out until they win. They're doing it through like a whole bunch of legal mumbo jumbo that is just like impossible to follow, if I'm being totally honest. But here's the gist. Legal, valid votes were cast, counted, recounted. Justice Riggs was the winner. Jefferson Griffin, her opponent, keeps challenging them for stupid reasons. And because our North Carolina court system is like corrupt, for lack of a better way to describe it, Griffin won today. It will now go to the state Supreme Court. After that, it will probably go to federal court and will end up at the U.S. Supreme Court. It is absolute nonsense. It is. This is also the way that they are testing a strategy, they being the Republican Party, are testing a strategy for stealing elections across the country. I cannot emphasize this enough. So it seems like a North Carolina problem today, but it is a you problem tomorrow. So we need you to have our backs. I need you to tell everyone you know. I need you to share about this. I need you to make sure that there is a political cost to stealing people's votes and to overturning the results of legal, valid elections. Please. Thank you. And really, like, check on your North Carolina people. We've got like Duke and freaking basketball tournament and Carolina lost, and so the majority of the state is despondent anyway. And now on top of all of that, we have like the fucking theft of 68,000 votes. Anyway, rough go. Appreciate you all. Share all the things. More soon.
All right, thanks for sharing that, Lala. And I put up another poll in real time, so let's just get this happening right now. And the question will be, and you can type like one or two sentences, and it'll show up on the drifting cloud. Put it right up right now, and let me just do a reshuffle, reset. Come on, it's not doing it for me. All right, there we go. All right, so let's put it up here right now. Okay, and the question is, what do you think about the GOP suppressing votes? You can type one or two sentences. We'll see it up on the answer spot. So, Lala, talk about it. Oh, before we go there, Enlightened Being says the GOP will not stop until they get what they want. This is BS. GOP is always screaming voter fraud because that is what they do. That's what Enlightened Beings have to say. And it also says, Enlightened Being says, they are always the guilty party.
Yes, and so this is an exact example of what Trump's executive orders were regarding this voting. He wants to get rid of mail-in ballots. He wants to get rid of anything that has to do with anything that enhances or uplifts the votes of the Democratic Party or the Independent Party, but mostly the Democratic Party, because that directly goes against their agenda. They have already told us this. This is nothing new. They say the things out loud. Yeah, they say it out loud and proud. And so I have to agree with this person on social media that is saying that this is just a testing ground for exactly what they're going to do with the next elections. As long as they're losing, they're going to do everything that they can do to win. There should be no reason whatsoever after these ballots have been counted and recounted and then recounted again that they should continue this fight to take it up to the Supreme Court. You clearly lost. My concern is because we all know the Supreme Court, the ultimate Supreme Court, not the state Supreme Court. A lot of those are corrupt too, including Mississippi, might I say, are corrupt and are leaning toward GOP, and they're not supposed to do that. They're supposed to be totally unbiased on what they look at. But when you think about our Supreme Court in DC, our judicial Supreme Court up there, it's kind of a wild card. We know that most of them are GOP leaning and Trump supporters, and a lot of them were appointed by Trump, but sometimes they break. They break with what Trump is. So once again, we cannot just say that maybe they'll just let that pass through. But with so much at stake and so much that was already been told to us and put into a plan where Project 2025, yes, I said it again, and I will continue to say it again. That was their blueprint for everything. I don't know how this is going to go. What I would like to see is if that happens, and they go with the GOP, I hope and pray that war breaks out. I really do. That the people will uprise and say no more of this. The voting system has always been broken, but they're not even leaning on it being broken. They're right now just leaning on, we're going to get what we want to get. So we're just going to keep going until someone says yes. This is not how things are supposed to work. Period. And I am sick to death of hearing people saying that, Biden stole the election, Obama stole the election. Let's talk about, Al, what's his name? I even forgot his name. What's the one?
Al Gore.
Al Gore, yeah, because, he done gone into sit down in the shadows business. But let's be very clear. He did win that election, y'all. He won it. And there was no question from the Democratic Party on how that was done. Once again, if you ask me, so was this election. There was too much involved with Musk being in those systems with those voting machines. And Trump actually said it. Y'all know whatever he says, he just be saying it out loud and pretending like he didn't say it, right? But if this goes wrong, guys, then it's time for us to truly stop. I think the whole voting system needs to be overhauled in the first place, but you are now affecting me. If North Carolina allows this, so will Florida, my state. And I actually am in the special election district right now. And they did their best not to tell us about this special election. If I wasn't so involved in politics, I would have not been able to get in my mail-in ballot established. Will they count it? Don't know. Let's see what happens in North Carolina.
Suppression, taking away of rights. silencing, intimidation, bullying. Wow. It's a lot.
Hitler. This is the same thing that Hitler did. I don't understand. I'm with enlightened beings. I wish that I could understand the reason for the hatred so bad.
Well, I don't think that's a hard reach because
I guess I'm a humanist at heart.
Yeah, but people want what they think is theirs. We in the North American side, it's all about the individual. It's not about the collective. And humanism and capitalism don't go really well together.
No, and not only that, I'm an empath.
Right.
So that makes it very, very hard for me. I don't want you to think that I don't understand. I understand, but the human in me. And I hope that people who are watching understand what I mean by that. The human in me, the love of people in me, the be the light person in me wants to understand.
I get it. Regina says, I agree, LaLa. SCOTUS dislikes the current trend of the judiciary being tampered with. Roberts already weighed in on 47's impeachment of judges. Well, we'll see where that leads to. It's just suppression. If you don't agree with me, I'm gonna make sure I just put you in put you in some kind of jail or in confinement.
Exactly. What did I say? Hitler.
Jesus. You're going back to that again. Oh gosh.
I'm never going to change from that. This man, this orange rag, admires and uplifts what Hitler did. He is playing by those rules. And the GOP depend on that. The Project 2025, the fundamental, the crazy Christian groups that ain't really Christian, because I'd like to know what Bible they reading, because it ain't the one that I am.
Right.
That's their agenda. And we are living in dark times. And as I said before, Dr. Vibe, and I really mean it, you know, America is a baby country. The rest of the world has been around before BC. Okay. But America has only been around for 200 some years. All right. Every country and every culture has failed and fallen at some time. It's America's time. But we know history. So we can also control that narrative because we are billions compared to just the millions that are putting this in place. It is up to us to wake up and take action.
I think that is a great way to end our conversation there, with your passion and your love always for your country. As much as you're challenged by it, the love of your country, you wear your heart on your sleeve, not only for yourself, but for your country, right?
I do.
All right. Good stuff. All right. That's the end of today's conversation. Not exact yet, but sorry to tell you, one more engagement poll. All right. Before we leave you today, what did you think about today's conversation? If you're watching live on YouTube, on the Dr. Vibe Show YouTube channel, rate it from 1 to 5. 1 being 5 being all right. All you have to do is type the number in the comment section on YouTube and press enter. And we'll have, there already, here's already a 5 right out of the gate. So we got a 5 right out of the house. Okay. Oh, people, wow. And Dr. Tachi says, great show. Wonderful. And I better show this to LaLa because it'll make her smile, because I know the last few moments were not fun for her, but I put a smile on LaLa's face. We got 5s out of the house, everybody.
Oh, yay!
Wonderbar. Thank you, everybody. And as I said, I'm glad that everyone is doing the engagement thing. And I'm liking how you're taking part of it and taking part in it and enjoying it. First, I'll speak for Regina goes, always a 5. Next time, Regina, all you have to do is put 5. Well, you put that comment, then also you can in a separate comment, put in 5 and hit the comment, but we know where you stand. All right. Before we leave, got to say the most valuable thing that these ladies take is their time to share with us. We'll take care of Aisha first. You can find Aisha on Instagram at akstaggers, Medium, akstaggers.medium.com, and then Blue Sky at akstaggers.bsky.social. And then would let LaLa have the screen by herself and tell us where you can find us. So where can we get a hold of you, LaLa?
I am streamlining. I am on all social media as Living the LaLa Life. But you also can find me at my website. I'm moving everything over there so that it's a one central location, and that is at www.laurakey.net. You can also buy some of my merch. I am asking you if you are any kind of passionate. I've got some great political t-shirts and mugs over there as well, and you need to continue to fight the power. And always check in with me on all my social medias. I'm loving talking back and getting back into social media. Kind of lulled there for a minute, but I'm back.
Wonderful. Fantastic. And you can find me at a number of different places these days. So let me do this. All right, let's do that. You can find me at a number of different places. Website, the drvibeshow.com, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, The Dr. Vibe Show, Instagram at The Dr. Vibe Show, X/Twitter at drvibeshow.com, email dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. You can also now catch me on Substack, drvibe.substack.com/subscribe. Would love you to subscribe to the Substack channel. And as I said, right now, pardon me, I'm engaged to it, getting ready to maybe put a ring on it with Substack, and then Blue Sky at drvibe.bsky.social. You can watch replays of this epic conversation on the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, and the Dr. Vibe Show website, the drvibeshow.com. That's it. That's all. So this is how we ended off. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. Block assumptions and aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. And as always, don't just manage your time, manage your energy. Remember to give yourself grace. Also, if you're not making money, make history. Try to do both and make it better. We'll catch you next week, but follow the Dr. Vibe Show. Definitely subscribe if you can, especially on YouTube. Be well and keep the faith. Bye.
To understand how afraid I am of any member of the rodent family that's down to squirrels and chipmunks. Okay? I cannot stand all members of the rodent family. Rabbits, bunnies, no. What else is going on that day? I mean, is there something we're supposed to be doing?
Why are you going there? Why are you going there? You know I'm going to ask you. It falls the same day as the inauguration of the new president.
The what? Excuse me? I'm sorry?
So in other words, Monday.
So onesies. Now, folks, don't ever think you're going to see us all on a show with onesies on. Don't do that.
You might see me. You might see me.
You'll see me and LaLa, because we oftentimes wear ours.